Okay, so today we're talking about word problems related to trig, and this worksheet's called 4.8, worksheet number 1, and I am hopped up on pie because it's pie day, and I've had at least 4 pieces of pie today. We bought, as a math department, 28 or so pies from Baker Square, like 15 different kinds, and like you have a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one. Let me tell you, the cookies and cream, oh, that was the best. Okay, anyway, so no, you cannot go to the bathroom even, because then you probably break in. Anyway, the horizon line goes just straight across. If you have an angle of elevation, that'll be going up. If you have an angle of declination, that's going down. And there's one other word I've used besides elevation. What did I say before? Yes, inclination and elevation are the same basic idea. Always, when you are told one of those shun words, like inclination, elevation, or declination, start by drawing a horizon line. It's really confusing if you don't have a line to start with to figure out where the angle is. Okay, start with a line going across, and then it's either going up or down, and then that part won't be that bad. Okay, the next part. If you have a triangle, which of course almost all these problems end up making a triangle, and pretty much they're going to be right triangles, what if you have two sides but you don't have any angles? You can use trig to figure that out. Let me show you how. Let's say this side right here was 3, and this, no, yeah, okay, and this side's 2. Then it's not going to be a 1, 2, 3 triangle. There's no such thing. I could figure out the third side. That's different. That's square root of blah, blah, blah. 9 squared minus 4 squared, right? Okay, but we don't care about that. What we care about now is angles. They might say, for instance, this is a ramp that the little kid built to jump his bike, okay? And so now what's the angle? That would be right there. And you can figure it out with trig. So let me show you. You would, if you haven't already, this one, let me see if you have room in the back. You do at the very bottom of the back side of your packet, you have some space. Would you please make a little sketch of this? And then it'll be a reminder of how to handle it when you've got to figure out the angle. So on this one, would you agree from that blue angle's perspective that I have the opposite and I have the hypotenuse? So which functions should I choose? Which one is opposite and hypotenuse? Sine. So I go sine of, I don't know what to put, so I put theta, is equal to what? Opposite over hypotenuse, which is what? 2 over 3. Now, let me just show you a little thing. Do you agree we want to solve for theta? Do you agree that means we want to get theta alone? What gets rid of sine? Inverse sine. So I can go inverse sine on both sides. Inverse sine here, and I'm going to move this 2/3 over and then do an inverse sine there. Uh-oh, did it upside down by accident. 2/3. And I now do an inverse sine on both sides. And why did I do that? To show you that these cancel, theta's alone, and I have to type that into my calculator. And it'll tell me what theta is. So go ahead, grab your calculator, type in inverse sine, which is, by the way, right above sine. You go second inverse sine. Inverse sine of 2/3. It's probably a good time to remind you that is not the same thing as cosecant. A lot of people think, oh, inverse means like flip, and the cosecant is the flip of the, you're thinking wrong. That's not cosecant. It'll tell you an answer, and I would bet you money that we have intelligent kids in here that are typing it in exactly right, and there'll be 2 different answers that'll come up on the calculators. Because radians versus degrees. Now, what did some people get? Give me an answer. Here you got 41.8. Give me another thing. All right, so which one was it? Was it 0.72? Okay, 0.72. All right, I'm going to guess that one's in radians. What do you think? Okay, so you grab your calculator, hit the mode button, and you see which mode you're in. And that's a good reminder. So many kids take the ACT test and don't even know if they're in radians or degrees when they're typing in things like sine of 30. And they're could be getting completely wrong answers. And believe me, they put the other answer as one of the ABCDs. They do that on purpose to see if you know what you're doing. Do you really know if it's radians or degrees? Okay. If you look at this, wouldn't you just logically, between the two, which of these angles makes sense for that right there? 0.72 degrees or 41.7 degrees? It's pretty easy to see that that one's the one in degrees, and therefore the other one must be the one in radians. But if you don't think about it and you just type it and you see, oh, my calculator's always right, so 0.72 must be the answer. All right. So what did we just do there? We used an inverse to figure out the angle that we needed. I would be in degrees personally. When you get into calc next year, I'll warn you, they're going to be having you use radians all the time. But that's because you'll be using radians in the problems all the time. And a lot of ours today are going to be in degrees. So yeah, I think degrees is still the best way to go to default. But your calculator, when you buy it in the first place and you open the box, it comes out in radians. So your calculator's default is radians. All right. Anyway, let's move to number 1. Number 1 on the packet, I think you now know everything you need to know to be able to answer all these questions. My number 1 thing I want you to do on every single problem, draw a picture. Because a picture's worth 1,000 words. And it's in math, it's worth like 1,000 points. So number 1, draw the picture for it. All right, so we got a tower. So to me, that means we have the ground and we have a tower in it. And of course, the tower is likely to be at a 90-degree angle unless they tell you otherwise. So I got the beginning of a 90-degree angle right triangle, right? And in case you don't know this terminology, a guy wire is the wire that holds up the top of the tower like this. You keep it wired into the ground so that if the big wind comes, it won't just fall over. Okay, so now I got my triangle. And now we have to read carefully to see which sides are what. All right, it forms a 75-degree angle with the ground. Do you get that that wouldn't make any sense to be up here because it's talking about the ground? And the other angle with the tower has to be 90. That only makes sense. Logically, that only leaves one place for that 75. It must be down here. All right, so that's 75 degrees down there. At a 50-foot distance from the base. Now, to me, if you're talking about the base, you must be down here somewhere. So there's only 2 choices. It's either 55 here or it's 55 here. Wouldn't they have said the height if they were doing the up and down? Yeah. So I think the 55 must be there. Use logic. Oops. Okay. Now, look at that. They only gave me 2 sides. They must be wanting me to figure out an angle, right? Oh, wait. No. I'm wrong. They gave me an angle. This 75 is an angle. I should have said degrees. All right. So I've got an angle. I got a side. What do they want? As tall as the tower. Okay. Then the tower is this distance. I would call it h for the height. And then can you set up the trig? It's either sine, cosine, or tangent of the 75. Think about it. Which one has opposite and adjacent? Tangent. Very good, Miss P. It's tan of 75 equals what over what? H over 55. If I only knew what tangent of 75 was, I could replace this with a number. You can do that. Now, one thing about rounding. This is really important. The directions say give each answer to the nearest hundredth. That does not mean that you should round your decimal answer that you get to the hundredths. Because if you want the answer to be accurate to the hundredths, then you need a few more decimal places than that. Now, the hundredths is 2 decimal places. So what I would say is it's okay with me if you round it to 4 decimal places. So when you type in tangent of 75, go ahead and write that out to 4 decimal places. Now, this isn't super accurate. I'm not doing sig figs here or anything, but just saying if you want it accurate, you got to have more digits. And if we want this to be in hundredths, then I'd say if we go to 4 decimal places, that's good enough. Did you type it in yet? Tangent of 75. Does anybody have it on their calculator yet? 0.73 what? 2? 1? You must start over again. What point? What? But I need 4 places. 2, 1. Thank you. Okay. 3.7321 equals h over 55. Now I just have to multiply both sides by 55. So if you already have that on your calculator, would you have to round it? No. You take that the whole thing, and then multiply it by 55. Or you can just take this and multiply it by 55. And then your answer will be that. You'll be done. Your h is alone then. So what did it come out to be? I need it to 2 decimal places. 205.2. Interesting. 7 or 6? All right, thank you. Okay, so then it might make a difference between somebody rounding and somebody not. Did you actually round it to 4 decimal places, or did you use the answer that was in your calculator? All right, so the person who rounded to 4 decimal places has a different answer here. And that's not as good as the one that's not rounded. In other words, if you can get away with not rounding, it's always better, because it hasn't been changed at all. All right. Let's move on. Number 2. The angle of elevation from an observer to the bottom edge of the Delaware River drawbridge. Oh, this is kind of nice. Because this one was confusing enough, we have a picture in there for you. That's going to save you a lot of time. Okay. And it says the angle of elevation from the observer to the top of the observation deck is 40 degrees. Well, you know what? I would advise the same thing I would advise on the ACT test. I would not, if I have a nice, well-labeled drawing, I would not read through all that stuff over and over and over again. I would go to the picture that's already been drawn, because, hey, we already drew the picture. So I'm going to look at that picture, but I need something out of the writing, the words up there. I need to know, what do they want? What is the height of the observation deck? Now, from that picture, in case you don't know what they're talking about, the height of the observation deck, here is the deck sticking out. So the height of the observation deck is from here to the ground. That's what they want to know, right there. They don't want the height of the whole thing. They want the height of the observation deck. All right. Now, when the triangles are inside each other, it's a lot harder than if they're separated. If you're having trouble with a problem like this, I would separate the 2 triangles and redraw them. I'm going to do that for you. The one triangle that doesn't go as high has a 30-degree angle here, and I don't know what this is, but that's the thing I'm trying to find, that height of the observation deck. The other triangle goes up taller, and so logically it has a bigger angle right here. And the base for both of them is 200 feet. I think it's not a bad idea to separate them into 2 triangles, because it helps clean it up a little bit. I personally think it's a good idea to have both, because on many of our problems we're going to be doing some kind of a proportion between the 2. But I get what you're saying. If you don't need the other triangle, did you have to draw it? No, you didn't have to do any of the things I said. I'm just giving you ideas. When you have nested things and you pull them apart, it helps you understand them better. And now that I see that I just need x, I do have all the info I need in that one triangle right there. So do I want tangent or sine or cosine? Tangent, because I have opposite compared to this angle. I have opposite and adjacent. So I could do tan of 30 is equal to what? Wait. No, give me the rest of the equation first. Tangent of 30 is what? Tangent's opposite over adjacent, right? X over 200. And what we just encountered, there's a really important point. If you try to do little parts of it before you write out the whole equation, it can get confusing. Start by just writing out the whole equation. Then go to your calculator and get this, which apparently you were reading that to me. What was that decimal, please? Just go 4 decimal places. Thank you. All right. And then that equals x over 200. And then to solve it, you just have to multiply by 200. Now, again, if you have an opportunity to do it without rounding, you'll get a more accurate answer, a better answer. Okay. Number 3 throws in just a little twist. After you're done with the triangle, you will have figured out only part of the height of the tree, right? Here's the picture. It's got the big bushy tree here. And then it says that you'll have figured out this side right here. And then you're asked for the height of the tree, and they tell you this distance is like the trunk of the tree is 5 feet. That means you better figure out your answer, and then you'll have to, of course, add 5 feet to it if you want the height of the tree. All right. You have a bunch of problems like this. They really aren't that hard once you do the triangles for it. And I need you to get the big picture here. Today is like working on these word problems. Really, there's no new math here. It's just getting used to making the words into a picture. That's the hardest part. If we just gave you the picture and then the question, you wouldn't even need all the words, and they wouldn't be a word problem anymore. So if you can draw yourself good pictures, you're halfway done. All right, so if we're going to finish this whole packet between today and Monday, and then the test on this is on Tuesday, that means we have only today and Monday night, or this weekend and Monday night to work on it. Which days, which of those time periods do you have more time? I know you might not want to do anything this weekend, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to assign and recommend that you get further tonight. Otherwise, Monday night is only one day, whereas tonight, technically, you have Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday night to work on this. So to be on track, to being able to be done on time, I would say you need to be able to get through number 22, which is just a little more than halfway over the weekend. If you get up through 22, you'll be on track. One more thought. I could just act like, oh, they haven't gotten the key up yet. They're not going to put up the key until, except for answers. You will get answers only. No, you know what? Because remember how I said once you draw the picture, it's easy? Okay, so this one isn't that bad to not have the work shown for you, because the real thing that you need to know is the picture. You gotta be, if we tell you the answer, you can recreate the picture from knowing what the answer is. It might take you a little bit, but struggle through these. These are ones where as soon as we draw the picture for you, you're gonna say, oh, that's easy. And kids get way overconfident on these word problems because they say, ah, yeah, those are no problem. And then they fail the test. This is one of the hardest tests you have, mostly because people get overconfident. So we're trying to show you that by showing you, here's what the answer is, see if you figured it out or not. And then hopefully over the weekend you'll realize, okay, yeah, these are kind of hard, and I'd really like help with number 17 and number 24 because I can't get them. Okay, that would be good for you to figure out. So no answers posted. Answers only posted over the weekend. Then on Monday night, we'll post the whole schmear so you can see all the answers and all the work. Okay? So get done up through number 22. I know there'll be a few that'll confuse you. Like I said, it's one of the hardest, not hardest, but it's one of the hard tests. By the way, big picture on that, we have basically spring break will take a full week out of the next month. Between now and 1 month from now, spring break is in there. But that leaves about 3 weeks. That's how much time we have left on Trig. So we have about a month of Trig, but of that, a week is spring break. So we have about 3 more weeks of Trig. And it's not, these are the harder 3 weeks of Trig, of course. You've had the easy stuff. And the test last night, very nice. Nice job. I graded them all. You'll get those back later this hour. And I was overall impressed with you guys. All right. That's all I have for the video for today.